Easy, tasty, organic, vegetarian Cornish pasty. Tastes like a steak pasty with gravy. Using only organic vegetarian ingredients. I would usually use organic butter beans, but in this case I couldn't get them, so I've used ordinary non-organic for this video. The recipe and shopping list are in the description below. Firstly, I'm using organic butter. It's 8 ounces. Use 1/3 chop into very small pieces and put into the flour, and mix in until it's like breadcrumbs, very short, very crumbly. Mix it all in with your fingertips, keeping everything cool. Then cut the rest of the butter into small cubes and stir into the flour, and then I'll put it into the fridge to chill. Sometimes I'll put it in the freezer if I want to do it quickly, sort of 10-15 minutes in the freezer, but the fridge is fine if it's cold enough. Also, place a jug of water, I use distilled or spring water, in the freezer to chill it. Prepare the vegetables. I use organic chestnut mushrooms. I don't wash them, I just wipe them with kitchen towel. Chop them up finely, because these are going to be very similar to the meat, what would have been meat in the pasty. They give such a lovely flavour, and just chop them finely. Then the whole point of this recipe is that it's quick and it's easy, and it saves preparing lots of vegetables, because a true Cornish pasty will have potato, swede, otherwise known as turnip, and meat and onions in it. This pasty is vegetarian, and it's one that I do. Sometimes I will use potato in it and turnip, but the thing is, this one is to save preparation of vegetables. It's such a quick one to do, and it's so quick to cook because it doesn't have ingredients which need a lot of cooking, and the taste is amazing. Literally, I had somebody say to me, "Are you sure there's no meat in this?" Absolutely not. They thought it was a steak pasty. I use butter beans, and when they're chopped up, don't chop them up so that they're totally mushy, but chop them into small pieces, and they will be the substitute for potato, and believe me, it totally works. If you don't have butter beans, you can use red kidney beans. It's not quite the same for this recipe, so I would try and get the butter beans. And I use parsley, totally enhance the taste of the pasty, but it's up to you whether you use it or not. Then an organic onion. This is the amount for 2 large pasties. It's 1 sort of medium onion. Chop it up finely, put aside. I stir all the vegetables into one bowl together, and I just get a feel for it. I just eyeball it, so to speak, so that you can sort of see the quantities. I make sure that there's always a lot of onion in it. Don't overdo the butter beans. Until now, I've always gone by just the look of it. I've not worked out quantities, so obviously I'm going to be trying to work out quantities for this video. Take the water, which should be really chilled, almost frozen. You know, you might have to break the ice on top if you've left it in there a while. Stir it into the flour and butter. I use a knife so that I don't warm it up too much with my hands. So blend that, very slightly knead it afterwards, not too much. Keep your hands very cold. Flour your board or your worktop, your work surface, and your rolling pin, and roll it out into a sort of a long rectangle, and then fold over one piece, 1/3, and then fold up the other, trapping the air in it. And the butter, or whatever you use, it should be chilled, but not rock hard. Definitely not frozen, because it will make holes in the pastry. But you also don't want it so soft that it will melt, you know, with while you're making it. So and won't sort of go blend into the pastry too much. So straight from the fridge is okay, but not really frozen. Keep flouring your board. Roll it out and fold over, like I said, trapping the air in it. Press down the edges and roll it out, but miss pieces. Sort of roll it and then lift your rolling pin and move up about 1 inch or so, and then leaving ridges in it. I hope you can see it there. And then when you fold it 1/3 and then another 1/3 and seal the edges with your hands, it's trapping the air inside. I do that 3 times, rolling out in between, but not rolling totally flat. Roll it, leave a little bit, roll a bit more, and then continue to do that. Do that 3 times, and you should trap quite a bit of air in that. I've cut it in half here so you can sort of see the way it looks, the layer. Sometimes it often looks different, you know. It often has smaller, thinner layers, but this will turn out well. It just needs to have air trapped inside it. Make it into a ball, roll it into a ball with your hands, roll it out, keep turning it over and keep flouring the board. And now you knead it about the size, the thickness of a £1 coin or whatever currency you have. I just grab a handful of the ingredients and spread them out like this and put the parsley on top. I sprinkle parmesan on top of this, and this is the key to a really good gravy, where you don't taste the cheese. It actually tastes like a meaty gravy with the chestnut mushrooms and the parmesan. It really makes it taste like a meat pasty, like steak with gravy. It's amazing. You don't really taste that it's mushrooms and cheese. And a knob or 2 of butter, which also enhances the gravy. Believe it or not, with all this butter in it and this flour, because it's all organic, I just do not get anything repeating or any indigestion eating this at all. And I am usually quite sensitive in that way. I think it's the fact that the flour is organic and it's not bleached, it's unbleached flour. And possibly I think it might be an old variety, an old grain variety. Salt and pepper to taste. I use black pepper. And then some people will make it where the ingredients are all on one side and then you lift the pastry over. I don't. I put it in the centre and I draw it up in the middle, but I don't crimp it in the middle. I flip it over onto its side. Sometimes it might need the excess pastry trimmed off. There's not really much in this case. If you roll out a perfect circle, you won't need to do that. And just trim it. And I make a hole in the top of mine. And the crimping is squeezing with your thumb and forefinger of one hand, doing the same with the other hand and folding it over and then squeezing, and then you sort of make a point. I'll show it here in slow motion, and then turn it over, squeeze and turn over. And the last bit you just tuck in. I have it just over 200 degrees centigrade, 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's really good. Make sure the oven has reached the temperature. Lightly grease a baking tray and put the pasties on, and brush with beaten egg. I use my fingers. I always find that easier. And put them in the hot oven. Because they don't have any meat in, which would take longer to cook, they probably will cook anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes, up to an hour. Halfway through the cooking time, you can put a teaspoon of water in through the hole of the pasty to add a bit more gravy, not too much though, or just a knob of butter. Do that sometimes if you've forgotten to put it in anyway. Also, with one of them, I forgot to put parmesan in it, so I sprinkled it on the pasty with the beaten egg on it before I put it in the oven, and it was amazing. So I'm doing that with most of them now. Check them after about 15 minutes, and you might need to turn the oven down a bit. And just keep them in an oven then at about 190 for a fan oven, 180 maybe, and enjoy. See you in the next one. Bye.